So one of the questions we get very often is, okay, I've given the students these assignment documents, maybe these essays or a worksheet or whatever it might be, and we gave them to them as a Word document or whatever. So how do we get them back? Um, People have a tendency to think that once they put this there, that's all there is to it, and that's not the case. So, in order for a student to turn in some kind of a document to you, what we do is we go to add an activity or resource again, and we create an activity this time called an assignment. It's the very first one in the list. So the assignment itself is not something you give to them, it's something they're giving back to you. Okay, and it'll be designated by the little hand with the paper on it. So that's one way that you can reference it to the students, call it a turn it in, whatever you want to reference it as. So I'm going to hit add. And this one has quite a few options on it because there are different time frames, there's different scores you can assign, there's different size files you can accept, and so forth. So the assignment name, you might want to do something like always call it turn it in and then whatever the actual document is. So we might say something simple like homework 1/8/15 if that's the deadline. Okay, but you can be as creative as you want to be, come up with some system, and we'll always have the same kind of an icon next to it, but it's good for you to sort of follow a pattern with that too. So again, the description will not show up on the page unless you check the box, but it does have to have something in there. So I'm just going to say homework 1/8/15 to keep it simple. Now the availability, you can turn on or off these start and end dates, but by default it starts at today and ends at a week from today. And the time is in military time, so this is saying 4:25 that it'll begin accepting assignments until 4:25 on January 14th in this particular case. If this is actually the homework for 1/8, if it's due on 1/8, let's say I assigned it today, then I can change this to say 1/8. I can decide what time of the day that I will accept it up to, maybe till the end of school, say at 3:15 or whatever that time is. And you can also set a cutoff date, and if set, the assignment will not accept submissions after this date without an extension. So even though I've set a due date here, it will still allow the students to turn in the assignments late. It will be noted. Everything that gets uploaded to Moodle is assigned a date and time that it's turned in. But if you absolutely will not accept the assignment after a certain time, you can enable this. You can see how that lights up now. And then you would say maybe I'm not going to accept anything beyond, say, 1 day late. So we'll give them until the 9th at 3:15. So that gives them an extra 24 hours. Maybe you give them a reduced credit score or something like that if it's late. So the next thing is what kind of submission will we accept from them? The default is file submissions, meaning they're going to create a Word, a PDF, whatever type of a file that they have that they're going to upload to you. And so that's the default. We can also, though, turn on or off as many of these other choices as we want to. So online text, if we were to turn that on, let's see what the help says. It says students are able to type rich text directly into an editor field for their submission. So what that means is right inside of Moodle itself, it'll open up a box for them to type in their answers. Now this would really only work if you had some kind of free-form text type of response, and they knew specifically what it was that they're supposed to be typing in there. So that will work for some things and maybe not so much for others. Submission comments. It allows the student to leave comments on their submission. That's, again, completely optional, probably not something you're going to typically turn on. The maximum number of uploaded files, this will typically be left to one. If, though, you're expecting them to turn in a Word file and an Excel spreadsheet with some kind of formulas or graphs to back it up, you could set that to 2 or 3 or whatever the maximum number was. This isn't intended to be keeping them from being able to sort of replace a file. In other words, they upload a file, then they realize they made a mistake and they want to replace it. You could still leave the number of file uploads to 1 here. And there's another choice later where we can deal with them being able to resubmit. The maximum submission size, this is based on what your course upload limit is, and that upload limit is set under course administration edit settings. So whatever that maximum is what the maximum will be here. You typically will only want it to be maybe 1 meg, 2 meg at the most. Any Word file that's that big is going to be pretty lengthy type of a file. Now if it's video, if it's a PowerPoint or something, you're probably going to need to make it 10, 20, even 50 meg. But realize that if you make the files that big, that the students are going to take a long time to upload them, it's going to take you a long time to open them, and it's going to take up a lot of space on the server. So I really recommend something probably in the 1 to 2 meg maximum submission size. Feedback types, you can choose what kind of feedback you're going to give to the student. Here's some settings related to their submission. So do you want to require students to click a submit button, meaning that once they've uploaded the file, they also have to click another button to say that they're actually done? Require that students accept the submission statement. So if we look at the, yeah, it doesn't give us much help there, but this would be sort of a final warning, if you will. Attempts reopened. So if you look through these give the teacher and or the system the ability to allow multiple attempts on this particular assignment. So if it's set to never, the student submission cannot be reopened. Once they've submitted it and they've gotten a grade, that's it. Manually, the teacher can reopen it. So maybe you decide you're going to allow everybody to resubmit. You might reopen it, or automatically until pass if you set a certain grade criteria there. If the student doesn't meet that particular grade level, then they would be able to resubmit in that case. Group submission settings, again, you have to have groups turned on inside your course for this to work. Notify graders about submissions. So this is, do you want the teacher yourself to receive a message whenever a student submits an assignment? And that's probably not something you want. If you got 30 kids in a class and they're doing, at least one assignment a day, that's a lot of emails that you'll be getting saying that each individual had uploaded their assignment. This is where you assign a point value to that particular assignment. It can be from 1 to 100 points. You can give it a no grade. You can do a complete, incomplete, various other options you can do here. So I'm just going to say that this is maybe a 25-point assignment. You can choose what kind of grading you want to do, and you can get more help on that. If you want to use grade categories, you can do that, but you have to build those elsewhere. Blind marking, if you set that to yes, it means that you won't see who the file belongs to. In other words, you'll go through and score them all, but you won't necessarily know whose assignment went to who. The system will know that, and the right kid will get the right grade, but it keeps, I guess, anybody from giving a prejudicial grade to one student over the other just because they like them or whatever. So that's one of the ways that can be used. So those are really the primary settings that we would deal with on the assignment. So I'm going to do a save and return to course. And you'll see what it looks like. It just looks like turn it in. Like I said, it looks like a little hand with the paper. And if I was to click on that as a teacher, I'll see different information than I would as a student. So if some of your students had started to turn in their assignments, you would see that information right here. You'd be able to click on view/grade all submissions, and any that had been submitted to that point would pop up in a list, and you'd be able to start to score them. The students themselves will have this type of a screen where they'll be able to add a submission, meaning they'll go and browse for the file that they want to upload to you or to the system to get to you. Tells them how much time they've got left, what the due date is, and so forth. And that's really all there is to turning in assignments. Now the grade book itself is a separate topic, but I'll just mention that it's going to be under the administration pane, and both you and the students can see the grade book, although the students can only see their own grades in the grade book, where obviously you'll see all of them.